Welcome to Chapter 6 of Human Factors in the Built Environment. We're talking about the elderly today. And of course, this population is unique in that it has we can find a lot of physical limitations, some visual limitations, and other things. So let's take a look. Here's our objectives, and certainly there is a relationship between the elderly and the human factors that we use for other populations. We are going to look at how gender differences may apply, physical mobility, if there's some things that we can do related to design to make the situation better. And certainly they're also subject to the same things that the rest of the population is, which is cultural differences and psychological concerns and providing an inclusive environment. The elderly is not exactly defined by the activities of daily living, but once people are not able to perform the activities of daily living, which are grooming, taking care of ourselves, eating, and sleeping, then they become more infirmed and need a lot of additional assistance. Now, in the past, we've seen a lot of difference in longevity between men and women, but of course, women are back or in the workplace and have as much stress as men. And in general, women are prone to more fractures, osteoporosis, and depression. In general, our life expectancy is increasing, with most people living to 85 years. And why do we care about aging? Because it's a big factor in the coming years. All across the planet, populations are aging rapidly, and we can see that by 2060, it's projected that there will be 1 in 6 people who are elderly. The folks who are elderly now have traditionally come from a more agricultural society, and their population has been more subjected to things like dying from the flu or pneumonia or tuberculosis, which we have a much better medical scenario for those. A centenarian is someone who is 100 years old, and there's more of those guys around now too because of medical advancements. The reach ranges for an elderly person is less, and the strength is less, as we're going to see in some of the coming slides. In general, we lose about 3 to 3.5 inches as we age. There is also a reduction in strength, a reduction in lung capacity, and this population may be subject to acute or chronic health conditions. So what are we talking about when we say chronic health conditions? Well, this could be something such as heart disease, which actually slows a person down a lot, arthritis, which keeps them from being able to grip something tightly, or a loss of strength in any of the limbs, and hypertension, which is high blood pressure. Physical limitations, of course, mobility. One thing that's not shown on these slides is something we call a jazzy scooter, which is a motorized wheelchair, which greatly affects the interior finishes that we specify. But traditionally, we can see canes, walkers, and wheelchairs. Designers can help a lot with choosing the right furniture, such as the chair. On the left, we can see that the person is using the front edges of the chair to really help her get up. And she's also sitting in something called a hip chair, which is a higher than normal chair, which helps a lot of people. The other thing is providing enough room underneath a table for a wheelchair. Handrails, very important. We've looked at this before. Meeting the ADA, we're going to generally be about a 36-inch height. And we talked before that an oval handrail is a lot easier to grip than a small, round handrail. And we can see in these illustrations, on the left especially, that the handrail is placed too high to actually be effective. It's just not ergonomic. Another factor to consider is good clearances around things. With shuffling feet and things like that, when the space is really tight, we are looking at slips and falls, which is a big factor in long-term health. And we're also looking here at a roll-in shower where someone could transfer from a wheelchair into the shower by using the grab bar with that little fold-down seat too. And here's where the controls for the shower are very important. So let's look at some of the innovations that have happened lately. One of the innovations on the top left we can see is a flip-down grab bar, which helps on each side of the toilet for someone to be able to get up. And also when we're standing at the lavatory, if we're a little shaky, we can have some grab bars there too, help us steady us on our feet. A walk-in bathtub, much easier to get in and out of. And then at the bottom right, we can see the roll-in shower. Universal design in the kitchen. There'll be a niche for the wheelchair or for your knees to go into underneath the sink. An extra high baseboard, a 9-inch high baseboard. The dishwasher's been raised up, so we're not leaning down too far. The shelves have been lowered, so we're not reaching up too far. In these two examples, we're just looking at the consciousness of having a space for a wheelchair such that the person feels like they're fitting into the space. It's inclusive, and we're not calling them out because they're sitting in the middle of the room without a set location. Some more innovations on elder care, a chair lift on the stairs, becoming a lot more integrated and a lot more attractive. The button to help automatic assist the door, so you're not struggling with trying to open the door at the same time you're trying to roll through it in a wheelchair. And then lever hardware helps everybody, but it helps arthritis sufferers because there's no gripping required to open the door. And certainly raising the drawers, lowering the shelves, as we see in the top right illustration, really helps. Let's talk about sensory limitations, which here's our visual limitations. We've got cataracts, making things fuzzy, glaucoma, making the center clear but the edges dark, and then macular degeneration, which is dark spot in the center and being able to see all around. But of course, that blocks out some very important information. Here's some more visual limitations, and this actually applies to anyone. Contrast glare is when the outside is brighter than the inside, and it's really hard to distinguish details on the inside with all of that light coming in the window. Then veiling reflections means that there's a reflection that's coming in that's getting into our eyes from that shiny floor on the left, and then also the glare that's coming in on the right-hand side from those light bulbs being too bright in too small of a space. Our vision changes for perceiving color as well. On the right side is a cataract sufferer seeing a really cloudy image, and then on the left we can see our lens has amber color or yellowing of the lens and causes us to not see colors as well. So when we look at this quotation, we can see that as our eyes age, the lens of our eyes hardens, thickens, and becomes yellow, and colors appear more gray. So using muted colors does not work as well. And it's as if we're looking through amber color sunglasses, which is illustrated right here. And you can see the blues and greens just totally turn to gray, whereas maybe the gold backpack or the gold hat that he has on kind of maintains its color because it's in the amber tone. So this may lead us to using warmer colors or brighter colors. Talking about hearing limitations, we have age-related hearing loss and ringing in the ears. We see the sound center inside of our brain. And research shows us that if we lose our hearing, we may start to decline in brain function as well because that area of the brain is not being stimulated. The age suit, we saw the video where someone was wearing it and it was able to simulate what it's like to be older. And in this one, we can see that the ears are blocked, and there's extra weight on us to give us lack of flexibility and impedes our movement. We're controlling the mobility in our elbows, and we're also looking through a lens that simulates either cataracts, glaucoma, or macular degeneration. A brain disease, if you would, where parts of our brains begin to die and shrink. And when we have spaces such as we see at the upper right, that's just one tone and all the hallways look the same and all the doors look the same, it's very hard with somebody with dementia to try to understand that environment or discern it. One of the ways that dementia is being addressed in Norway is to provide a safe village, a small village, if you would, where the person with Alzheimer's could wander, as they like to do, and then discover all these different little stores. And the people that are in the stores and the people that are accompanying them know well and good that none of this makes any sense, but everybody plays along. So a big factor that we see is aging in place. And chief among things that we have to take care of is safety. And so that gives us, that's talking about the ability to move about freely or clearances or good clearances such as that. And then also things like grab bars and anything that can enhance the activities of daily living, such as a shower chair or the grab bars or having the doors wide enough that the wheelchair can go through. That all enhances this aging in place. And of course, we can't forget that we need mental and physical activities that stimulate us and a good support network. As we mentioned before, there's cultural differences. And as someone ages, it's really not the time that they're going to start exploring a lot of new friendships or different ways of being. They're sort of set in their ways. So providing an environment that is familiar and shows that your life, your way, whatever that may be, whether it's, it's just cultural specific senior living. We look at CCRCs, or continuing care retirement communities, which start out as independent living, which is sort of like an apartment. Maybe the person is able to go down to a dining hall from there. And then we move on to assisted living, which is more like a single room with a connected bathroom, and a lot more care is being given. And then memory care is the highest level of taking care of, because as we can imagine, the activities of daily living are even more challenging for someone with short-term memory issues. So we call all of this long-term care, or LTC, and this acronym is highly used in the market. So there's different kinds of definitions of culture, and this is our second definition of culture, and this is more like an attitude. So the Eden Alternative was started back in 1992, and it recognized that elders may face loneliness, helplessness, and boredom, and that meaningless activities just really corrodes the human spirit. So a lot of input was done on stimulation and sociability and some things like that. Now, the Greenhouse Project ties in more with actual real estate, which is that there'll be a small home where maybe 6 to 8 residents live there with an empowered staff, if you would, that they can call the shots. And when doctors come and visit, they may knock on the front door. So this defines some differences that we're looking at for our aging population. In the next video, we're going to talk about some design solutions that we can do that can help create an atmosphere more like home. Thank you.